7. The unity of the law and the gospel. The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. David. God created all things by Jesus Christ, and therefore Christ is the mighty God, the everlasting Father of all intelligent beings in all worlds. God the Father is the Father of Christ, and therefore through him of all these beings created by Christ. Thus God, Father and Son, unite in themselves all the morally accountable beings in the universe into one family. And it was the design that we should know and own our brotherhood, not only to all men, but to angels and the inhabitants of all worlds. Now, the All-Father gave to his children certain rules or laws to regulate their conduct. These laws were not arbitrary, not designed to show his right or power to boss or domineer over his children, but like the rules of all well-regulated families, they were designed to promote the happiness of all the children and the unity of the family life. Although many might hesitate to express it thus, the thought that lingers in their minds is about like this: God is arbitrary and obstinate, and will not permit the slightest variation from his laws without plunging us into eternal death. This is what Satan has ever said of God and of his government. I desire to show the contrary so that all may see. I desire to show that it is the variation itself that plunges us into eternal death, and not the arbitrary decree of God. It is the love of God that will not in any way countenance that variation, because it leads to such terrible results. The law of God is not simply his fiat. It rests on eternal principles of pleasure and pain, principles as unchangeable in their very nature as the laws that govern the seasons or control the motions of the planets. The law is not so simply because it was so, but because it must eternally and universally be so. On the correct understanding of these principles of the nature of God's law depends our power to comprehend God's love in all his dealings with his creatures. On this rests the whole philosophy of the purpose of creation and of the plan of redemption. The existence of misery and suffering, that need for an atonement, and how that atonement is accomplished by Christ, can be understood in the light of God's love only as the nature of his law stands revealed. It is for this reason that we purpose to dwell at some length in these pages on the nature of God's law. We have always thought of the 10 Commandments as requiring our love to God and to all his creatures. Have we ever thought of them as an expression of his love to us? It would be absolutely foolish to demand our love by arbitrary fiat. Love cannot be given in that way. Love is born only of love. The state might as well legislate that the sun should not shine or that water should not flow downhill, as for the Lord to make such arbitrary demand for love. In either case, the law could not affect in the slightest the thing legislated about. Yet it remains true that all the law of God requires is love, and that, as the Apostle says, love is the fulfilling of the law, of the whole law. How is this? Simply that the law itself, when we understand it, is a revelation of such infinite love that can and will fulfill the law. God is love. Every word, every jot and tittle of that law, coming from love, requires only such service as love dictates. When the same love which that law expresses to us is begotten by it in our hearts, and flows out toward God and all his creatures in loving actions, then the law is fulfilled. It may be objected that the divine love, to beget returning love in us, is revealed not in the law, but only in the life and death of Jesus Christ. In one sense, this is true, and in another, it is not true. The love that God sought to reveal in his law, and throughout all the administration of the law in his government, has been denied by Satan from the beginning. For he is a liar, and abode not in the truth. It has also been so obscured and hidden by sin and sorrow that many have not beheld it. But the love of God as revealed in Jesus Christ is no new love for us. God is the same. With Him is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. All this love for us He had from the beginning, and He expressed it in His law. Only the devil denied it, and sin obscured it. Christ simply revealed the love that God had ever borne us, and that underlies all His laws and government. The life of Christ is the law of God in action. His death, but the natural result of perfectly keeping that law and perfectly proclaiming it to others in a world that hated truth and goodness. Look at that life and death of immaculate love. In all this, did Christ do more that the law requires? Impossible, for then He were more than perfect. For the psalmist says, "The law of the Lord is perfect." Christ's life, then, reveals no new love, but to hearts that were hardened and to eyes that were blinded by sin, He reveals anew the same love which dictated every word of that law. There is no conflict between Sinai and Calvary. "Thy law is the truth," said David, "and all Thy commandments are righteousness." Again, "Make me to go in the path of Thy commandments." Jesus was the righteous servant who was to justify many by His righteousness. He says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." He was and is the Prince of Peace, and the manifestation of mercy. In Him, mercy and truth are met together. Righteousness and peace have kissed each other. We have seen that all created intelligent beings find a common Father, and hence a universal brotherhood, in God. Now we wish to see that all of God's dealings with His morally accountable creatures are simply the dealings of a loving parent with his children. This must be so if He is our Father. Is He not a good Father? The very word God means good. If He be convicted of being other than good in anything, He is no longer God. This were to dethrone Him, and then, "Who the orphaned moon doth lead, and who the unfathered spheres?" Is He not love? And can love act other than lovingly? To show that God acts from other motive, that love is to show that He is not God, for God is love. Hear Him, "Ye are my witnesses, saith the Lord, that I am God." Have we always witnessed thus? Have we not all in our hearts 1,000 times doubted His love, while believing fully in the love of some human friend? Ah, this is to exalt the human above the divine. This is idolatry. Perchance our lives have been sad and dark, and we have wondered why, and thus been led to doubt. Jesus was the only begotten Son of the Father, loved by Him before the worlds were, and yet while here He was a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. He, the captain of our salvation, was made perfect through suffering. This is the ministry of sorrow. Do you not know, sorrowing and tempted one, that the shadow cannot fall except the sun be shining overhead? When the mists have cleared away, and we see the Father's face, and know as we are known, ah, then shall we see that. Darkness in the pathway of man's life is but the shadow of God's providence, by the great sun of wisdom cast thereon, and what is dark below will be light in heaven.